today's guest, Ms. Sev Tok. So this is a kind of a shortened version of her bio. She's got an awful lot of experience. She's an author, ufologist, and a spiritual counselor. She's an experiencer advocate, known for her work at the intersection of extraterrestrial contact, consciousness, and disclosure. She was born in Istanbul, Turkey, and immigrated to the United States as a child, where she earned a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Loyola. In 2017, after relocating from Capitol Hill in the Washington, D.C. area to the inner banks of North Carolina, she experienced a life-altering extraterrestrial encounter. While her ET contact began at age 10, Sev publicly came forward in 2018, speaking at AlienCon and releasing her book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, which has been endorsed by renowned UFO researcher Kathleen Martin, who was our guest last month, if you remember. Sev has appeared on History Channel's Ancient Aliens, The Proof is Out There, Gaia TV's Beyond Belief with George Noory, ABC's Nightline X, and the Canadian docuseries Encounter UFO. She's been interviewed internationally, including on Coast to Coast, and speaks at conferences worldwide. She's a former MUFON State Director for North Carolina and served on the executive committee of the Experiencer Resource Team for MUFON. Sev is also a founding member of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, a collective of award-winning filmmakers, television professionals, and ufologists dedicated to promoting accuracy in media coverage of UFOs and disclosure. She has a new podcast, UFOs and ETs 101, offering the basics for UFO, extraterrestrial intelligence, and the deeper mysteries of the phenomenon. The podcast is available on her YouTube channel, Alien Spirit with Sev, and of course, across major podcast platforms. In addition to her media work, Sev has been conducting soul purpose sessions for clients worldwide for over 16 years. She also offers private ET consultations for her experiences. If her name sounds familiar and you're a Star Wars fan, a planet and star system have been named in her honor within the Star Wars galactic system, where the Sev Tok planet and star system is documented on Wikipedia and referenced in Star Wars Andor. Welcome, Sev.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I was a field investigator in 2020, and right here in this picture, this is when I just received my card in the mail. And then I went on to become the state director for North Carolina, and I was on the executive committee of the ERT as well. And I'm still an experiencer advocate. I help contactees around the world for the past 16 years, and I also conduct soul purpose sessions that support individuals to strengthen their intuitive abilities so they can live a more aligned, intentional, and more purposefully. I've been an experiencer since I was a little girl. My first conscious memories are from the age 10. I'm not going to go into the whole story now, but there was a being that would visit me until I was 12. And this is what he looked like, very close to what he looked like. He was more human than not. The only difference were his ears. They were a little more elongated on the top than ours, but he didn't look like Spock, and I wasn't into Spock back then. And so for 2 years, he would just come and visit me. It was many, many visits. And I've had a lot more experiences since then, along with supernatural experiences. But the ET contact that changed my life happened in 2017 when the grays burned 2 red X marks into my back, into my tush, actually. One was on my left cheek and one was on my right cheek. And this caused me to have an existential crisis. I finally admitted that I needed help, and I went online because I didn't know who helped people talk to ETs. I didn't even know if someone like that even existed. And I found Kathleen Martin. So I contacted her, and she responded, and she helped me process everything that's been going on. And she's now become a dear friend of mine. She's my mentor, and she's also a very highly admired colleague. I go into my life of ET contact in my book, on radio shows and podcasts and conferences, and on different TV shows. I spent most of my life hiding because I was ashamed and I was embarrassed. And I also questioned my sanity. And I was afraid that I would lose clients if I came out. But one morning in 2018, I woke up and I decided I was going to write a book. And I knew what the title was going to be: You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. And I don't know what happened that night, because when I went to sleep that night, I had no intention of coming out or writing a book. But I wrote it, and I wrote it pretty quickly. As you said in your introduction, I do have a planet and a star system named after me in Star Wars. I had a friend who was a writer, and he got a job writing a short story for Star Wars. And he said he liked my name and he was going to name a planet after me. And I thought he was kidding, but he was serious. And if you watch Andor, you might have heard my planet name mentioned. Two of my newest things are a podcast that I created. These are really short, and I created it because as I've been speaking to people around the world, I've noticed that there's actually quite a bit of ignorance about ufology. And so I wanted to create this podcast just to give the basics of what everybody should know, so they can at least have a fairly decent conversation about this topic, because this topic is here, it's not going away, it's a reality, and everyone should really know the basics. My newest is an online class. I was going to teach it in person in North Carolina with Pamlico Community College, but I had a sudden move and now I'm in Florida. So I'll be teaching this class online. I'm really excited about it. I don't know the date yet, either May or June, but if you're interested, there'll be information on my social media. I also have a newsletter that you can sign up for on my website. All right, now back to the ET stories. As an experiencer advocate, I talk to contactees around the world. I've been doing this for about 7 years now, 8 years. And I've discovered that there are five main topics of information that the ETs are giving us: science and innovation, the hybridization program, the future of mankind, spirituality and self empowerment, and psi abilities. I'm presenting to you the original artwork. All of this art is done by the actual experiencer. This is artwork done by a gentleman in Virginia who I'm going to call Ron, and he's been having ET contact since he was a kid. This is an interaction that happened on a spaceship with the mantids and the grays, and he said that he felt encouragement and support from them. And the mantid told Ron that the mantid's relationship with him and his people is for life and for the mutual benefit of us all. And Ron said the mantid held me in a mental field like magnetism, and my thoughts were his thoughts. And then he began to increase the conscious interface between our minds to a point beyond my ability to describe. He was fully conscious of the contents of my mind, and I understood about his nature and his purpose. It was difficult to ascertain which thoughts were mine and which were theirs. They were evolved beyond most human concepts like emotion or self-centered concepts. I could feel the other minds on the craft as individuals. We were united in a warm, inclusive unity of being. It was a feeling of unity and belonging that I will always remember. Do you see that blue wand that one matrix mantid is holding on the left? There are many experiencers who have seen either a gray or a mantid holding holding a wand. We do not know what these wands are. However, we do have this, which might provide a clue. This is another painting of Ron. Along with many experiencers, he was shown images of our future. And they were not happy images. There were images of catastrophes and devastation. And he told the ETs he didn't want to see them. They scared him. So the ETs switched to scenes that were happy and healthy and vibrant. And the ETs told him that our future is a set of possibilities which we create with our minds and intention. And there's no one set destiny or future event. There are many future potentials, and the potentials are manifested by focus into our reality. And this information he received from the ETs changed Ron. One of the transformations regarding his physical change as he became a vegetarian, as experiencers do. I'm another one that became a vegetarian. He also became increasingly aware of his connection to all life on all planets in all dimensions, which makes him feel like has a personal duty to be kinder and more loving and to respect the life of all. Ron's experiences demonstrate the scientific, the spiritual, the self-empowerment, and the future-telling information that the ETs are giving us. And at the same time, they also strengthen Ron's telepathic and psychic abilities. Also, Ron confided with his dad about his experience, and for the first time, his dad said that he had been taken on craft too. So, as we know, there is contact that happens through the family lineage. This is an ET event that transformed the contactee so much that she developed the courage to make a very difficult decision that benefited her life. Her name is Raptal Vargas, and she lives on the Big Island of Hawaii. And this is her painting. She began to paint after her ET contact, as many experiencers do, become very artistic. This is one of her paintings depicting an ET encounter that changed her life. She went to bed one evening and she awoke on a bed that seemed like it was a hospital bed in a room, and she was staring at that object behind her, that strange black and white object that was hanging on the wall. And then these three short beings walked towards her, and they were reflective in material, and even their eyes were reflective. And the beings told her, physical form is insignificant. We are all interconnected. And she says they taught her that what I believe myself to be is what I become. And her efforts to try and understand this took her on a very deep personal introspection about herself, about her life, and for her purpose for being. She says she's still learning what this profound statement means. And it's a gem of wisdom, really, and it helped her develop the courage to leave her abusive marriage. This message of self-empowerment not only helps the individual, but our collective society. And as each of us does the necessary mental and spiritual work to take good care of ourselves, this creates a higher personal frequency, and this radiates through our society, through the collective, helping the collective raise its vibration. And like Ron, Raptal became a vegetarian too. She's more empathetic to others, and she lives with the awareness that she's connected to everything, and she does her best to be helpful to humanity. Her experience, again, demonstrates the information the ETs are giving us with respect to spiritual information, self-empowerment information, and that black and white thing that she was looking at is some kind of scientifically advanced object. And once again, the ETs have strengthened her psychic abilities by making her aware of her own telepathic abilities. This is a drawing from an experiencer that I'm going to call Abby, and she had ET contact in Izmir, Turkey, when she was a little girl. I'm originally from Istanbul, Turkey. Her father was in the army and stationed in Izmir, and it was there that she had encounters with these small, pale beings that had long white hair. They took her on their ship, and this happened when she was around 9, and they taught her how to meditate. And they taught her how to open her third eye so I could see the truth in this illusory matrix. And they said the way we educate our children is deplorable. She was told that humans have everything we need, but knowledge is misapplied, and that there are trillions of civilizations scattered throughout our universe, but very few visit Earth. Abby's experience further demonstrates the information, the spiritual information, the self-empowerment information that the ETs give us. Once again, we're told that we live in a matrix and it's an illusion that responds to our focus. And once again, the ETs taught her how to strengthen her psychic abilities. And once again, this was a very positive, loving experience. This is interesting. These are three beings that showed up in the living room of Annette Williamson, who lives in England. When she first came to me, she had not come out, but since then she's come out and she's done several interviews with Grant Cameron. And when these three beings arrived in a room, she was with her friend Zoe, who also saw them and heard them as well. They were both stunned and they asked them, "Who are you? Are you God?" Which I find to be a very interesting question. And they responded, "Everything is made from carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. No one divine being, only the oneness of all humans, animals, and other beings." They talked with these beings quite a bit, and they got tired of calling them the three beings, so they decided to call them Chan, which is short for carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. And once again, the ETs tell them that we're in a matrix of illusion, and the truth is seen through our first eye or our third eye, and that personal perception creates conscious reality. I don't know how many of you watched James Fox's National Press Club presentation. It was very good about the ET contact in Virginia, Brazil. There were many firsthand experiences. Civilians, there was a doctor, there was a Brazilian politician, and Jacques Vallée attended the conference, but he attended via video. It was several hours long, and what I did was I made a very short video summarizing the entire conference. It's on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit with Sev. And the story does include bribery, it includes a briefcase full of money, and it does include men in black. This is a graphic from that video where I'm talking about Jacques Vallée. And at that conference, Jacques Vallée says, "There appears to be an extraterrestrial phenomenon powered by advanced artificial intelligence." Jacques Vallée is a French-born computer scientist. He's one of the most respected researchers in ufology. He worked on the early internet systems, and he collaborated with astronomers and defense researchers. He's also written many books, and he approaches the topic in a scientific and philosophical manner. Vallée and Hynek worked together in the 60s and 70s. Hynek, as you probably know, was the scientific advisor to the U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book, and he shifted from being skeptic to being much more open-minded. Vallée worked closely with him, and he helped him push beyond the nuts and bolts theories. Their partnership is dramatized in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where Hynek inspired the scientist character and Vallée inspired the French investigator. Together, they were involved in cataloging UFO data, with Vallée helping to computerize the information and founding the Center for UFO Studies. If you're going to Contact in the Desert this year, I will be there. And I was just talking with Paul Hynek the other day, and he told me there's going to be a very special event. All of the Hynek siblings, I think there's 5 of them, are going to come together at the conference on stage with Jacques Vallée. This is the first time all the Hynek siblings are getting together for this reason. And Paul was quite excited about it, and I'm looking forward to seeing that too. The Hynek siblings know Valet. Valet suggests that the UFO phenomenon might be an advanced intelligence system, something that processes information and interacts with humans through the mind or the brain or the consciousness. And he speculates that UFOs may not be physical, but rather manifestations of a non-human intelligence, possibly operating like advanced AI. The AI we use simulates conversation, it generates pictures, it influences our thinking, it feels alive. And people are actually using AI right now as their therapist. And some are even using AI as their romantic partner. So is ET contact simply a conscious awareness of this cosmic AI where the person downloads visuals and information just like prompting AI on your computer? We've heard stories from experiencers who've flown craft simply by their mind. They say when they're on the craft feels alive. And all they have to do is think about where they want to go, and the craft goes. So when they're on this craft, are they tapped into this cosmic AI? Is that what runs the ship? I don't know how many of you have seen this series. I enjoyed it so much. It's a British series that takes place in 2019 to 2034. And it depicts political upheavals, economic instability, and technological advances very similar to what we're undergoing right now. And the series ends with a character named Edith who dies, and she decides to upload her mind to a database, just like AI, so she can live forever. And as this is happening, she tells the technician she does not believe her consciousness can really be encoded because the human spirit is more than just information. And the series ends with the entire family gathered around Muriel, also known as Siri or Alexa. And they're just looking at Muriel, ready to see if Edith is really going to live forever, if they're going to hear Edith's voice through Muriel. There's a lot of movies and TV shows now about plugging into AI, uploading ourselves into AI. A lot of shows about the Matrix. Is the Matrix simply cosmic AI? And going back to experiencers, what if these experiences feel like we're having telepathic communication with a being, but maybe what if we're not? Maybe what we're doing is just downloading this cosmic AI into our minds. Could this explain why so many experiencers have stronger psychic abilities afterwards? Because they're plugged into this cosmic AI where they can download interdimensional information. And do they get plugged into this cosmic AI because the ETs plugged them in? Or can we plug in ourselves? And is this what meditation and dreams help us do? Jacques Vallée was before his time. Well, he's still alive. But when he was putting forth this idea of AI and ET contact, it sounded really out there. But now it makes sense. It makes so much sense. He's challenging us to rethink everything that we've assumed about the UFOs and the intelligence. So his work seems more relevant than ever right now. So basically, the question is, are we simply receiving and interpreting information from a cosmic intelligence, experiencing it as reality within our own consciences? Perhaps what feels solid and real is a part of a much larger interconnected system of awareness and information. And maybe there's nothing artificial about it. Maybe it's just cosmic intelligence that we're learning to tap into. Thank you very much for your time.
Sev,
Yes.
very interesting. I
Thank
was looking at my bookcase that you can't see, it's off to the side here. And I must have your book at the cabinet, but I've read your book.
Thank you.
And every time I hear you speak, I can't believe how many similarities we have in our lives. One of these days, we're going to have to sit down and talk about that. But
Okay.
wanted to open up the floor to anybody that might have some questions. You're muted, Jer.
Okay, yep. Here, hang on. I got a microphone for you. There you go. She's right there.
She's right there, whoever she is.
Oh,
Oh,
hi.
she's right there.
Yep.
Oh, you're on the camera.
Yep.
Oh, you're alive.
Hello
Hi.
there. My name is. I
Hi.
came here today with my brother-in-law, and he was
Wow.
kind of wondering how Dr. Stephen Greer fits into this whole subject because we've been watching videos from Dr. Stephen Greer lately.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, he talks a lot about the consciousness factor of this. He's also extremely controversial. I think he's an important player in this, but due to the controversies that he's created about himself, is he a whistleblower? Does he work for the CIA? Is he really telling the truth? What's going on? I know people who've been to his CE5s, and I really can't say so far that I've received a lot of positive feedback, but I'm not going to talk bad about Dr. Greer because I think he's done a lot for ufology and opened up a lot of minds. I don't believe, or I don't agree with everything he says, though.
Right. And I think we kind of feel the same way that he's bringing light to the subject. It's
Mhm.
just you're not really sure how much of it you should believe and how much of it you shouldn't. Like everything these days with AI, it's difficult to
Mhm.
believe what you see and what you hear.
Mhm.
So,
Also, right now, the state of disclosure is so interesting right now. I'd really like to hear all of your opinions about this. It's frustrating at times from an experiencer point of view because experiencers now at this particular time are completely ousted. And no one's interested in hearing what we have to say, and we're the ones that can answer their questions. So right now, the focus is on these military whistleblowers, which is not a good. These military whistleblowers, they're gagged. And if you think they're going to tell us something that they shouldn't tell us, they're not. If they tell us something they're going to tell us, they're either going to be killed or they're going to be threatened so badly that they're going to shut up. I believe every ufologist I know has been threatened, including me. I've been threatened a few times, but the last one was so bad. It was so horrible because they know how to get you. They know what bothers you the most, and they go there. It was something that I saw in December of last year, and I was going to come out and talk about it. And I got an email from a military whistleblower who has been on TV. He's been at Congress. I'm not going to say his name. And he heard about what I saw because at that time last year, I was living very close to a military base.
okay.
And he wanted to talk to me about it. I said, all right. And the very next day, I got the threat. And I never contacted him again. And I'm not going to talk about it. I know what I can talk about. There are things that we can talk about, so I'm just going to stick to that. What happened that night? Will I ever tell? I don't know. I don't know. The threat is so bad that I can't take the chance. We can tell the difference between a silly threat and a serious threat. This was a serious threat. So we're also hearing about this general that's missing and these other scientists that are missing.
Okay.
You've heard about them.
Yes.
Do you believe that they were killed? Do you believe that the government kind of just wiped them off to just kind of get us to not talk about this topic anymore? I'm not 100% certain that's what happened. I'm not going to rush into that conspiracy theory right there.
Right.
But right now, it feels like we're being intentionally misled through the government, through the whistleblowers, and also through an experiencer or two, whose names I will not mention, who are making this a purely Christian God angel situation. So it's confusing. So
Yes,
if
it
you're on the
is.
fence,
Yes.
you're confused. If you were not a believer and now you're a believer, who should I listen to? Where should I go? What should I do? And so that's
Right.
exactly why I created my podcast, UFO and ET 101, just to give you the basics. There isn't any editorializing in it. Just know the basics and then make your own opinions.
Yeah, that's why we're here today, just to see
Thank
what
you
we
so
can
much.
find out and get more information for ourselves with people who have experienced this type of thing. So thank you very much for your
I
time.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll have
Anybody
a little
else?
segment later on in our meeting on the missing people that you were talking about. So
Oh, you are? You're going to talk about that?
yeah, we have a little segment called UFOs in the News, and so I have some stuff that we're going to talk about on that. So
Okay.
does anybody have any questions online? I don't see any. Normally we go around to locations, but we don't have more heads, so I feel a little lost. I'm all by myself here today.
It's okay.
Any other questions in Grand Rapids?
Nope, I don't think so. Unless Sev, unless you want to talk a little bit about some of the experiences that you've had personally that you can talk about.
Well, I don't know if that's going to be boring to the people who are listening because I've talked about my experiences before and I've written about them before, and I don't want to talk about anything that might be kind of boring or too repetitive.
I don't think you'll bore anybody.
Thank you.
I don't think so either. I will just kind of comment on something that you said. People who know me really well know that I try and stay in the hard science world, even though I'm an experiencer myself, which is a very interesting place to be.
Mhm.
And I am seeing some movement towards understanding the experiencer's experience within that hard science world. It's not a lot, but it's some. And I'm really encouraged by that.
You are seeing that. How are you seeing that?
Well, there's a few things that I probably shouldn't talk about,
Okay.
considering they involve other organizations that I'm involved with and not MUFON. Jared is sitting there with a smile because I think he knows who I'm talking about. So there's a well-known organization that's really nuts and bolts hard science. And I have been bugging those folks. I'm a member of that group to take a look at a little bit more of the consciousness realm and some of the experiencer stuff. And they're actually going to be talking about some things related to experiencer phenomena at their next conference from
Thank
PhD
you.
level
Good.
folks who've been doing some research in that area. So not a ton, but a little bit. And I'm really encouraged by that little bit. Project Hesdalen, I will mention their name. They have a conference that's coming up at the end of the summer. And they're another pretty hard science group trying to figure out what the heck is going on with the lights over the Hesdalen Valley. And full disclosure, I'll be speaking there as one of the experiencers, but they wanted to also have the experiencer phenomena in their conference. And so I'm seeing some hopeful things that maybe they'll take a little bit closer look and not just say that we're all crazy or delusional.
So are these experiencers that have some 3D proof or no?
For which?
Just the experiences in general. Are you talking to experiencers where some people would say, oh, that's just all in their mind? Or are you talking with experience that maybe have like an X on their tush or an implant or some other marks?
So probably both. I can't speak for the paper that's coming out that I know some details about. I don't know specifically what evidence they have. I know they have some. In those groups, you have to have some kind of hard evidence. It can't just all be woo.
Yes.
And so they have some. I have some circumstantial, anecdotal type evidence that at least it helps give me some perspective. when I'm talking about some of the experiences that I've had. I don't know if I want to say too much about that on this meeting. We could talk about that in private, though, if you're interested.
Okay, yes, yeah, very much.
But yeah, we would like to hear more on some of your experiences. Maybe some of the ones that you didn't necessarily think were ET related initially, that you later, as you learn more,
Oh,
came
that's
to
an
realize,
interesting way to put it. Yeah. I would say, what year was this? Maybe 2019, 2020, something like that. I was sitting in my living room. I was home alone with my cats, and it's middle of the day. No drinking, no nothing, like totally sober. And all of a sudden, right on my couch appears these two beings. They're light beings, and they're very tall, and they're absolutely stunning. And I was like, I couldn't believe my eyes. And so I actually picked up my camera and I took pictures, but they did not show up in the pictures. And they were made up of these undulating beams of energy that were just stunning. They'd be impossible to draw because they're just constantly moving. Like all aspects of them were constantly moving. And they were in the colors of blues and silvers, and there was a little bit of light green that would show up right here. And they had two eyes. They had a head, two eyes, looked like a mouth, although they weren't using a mouth. They had like a humanish body, but they're sitting on the couch and they're in light form. And the first thing they say to me is, when you look into our eyes, you look into yours. I was like, whoa, okay. Not quite sure what that means. And then they started to give me information. And I wrote it all down as they're giving it to me. And they gave me information about activating our DNA, about the vibration of DNA, why you would want to activate high vibration DNA that sits within us. They gave me information about Tesla and Tchaikovsky and Disney. And these were three men that I've loved ever since I was a little girl. And they said that Tesla and Disney met, and all three of these men were channelers. All three of these men were in contact, whether they admit it or not. Tesla admits it, but I don't know if Disney ever admitted it. I don't know if Tchaikovsky ever admitted it. And they said that when you listen to the movie Fantasia, which is one of my favorite movies, it's filled with Tchaikovsky music. Disney movie, filled with Tchaikovsky music. And this Tchaikovsky music serves to activate your DNA. It helps you align with your divine purpose. And so the movie Fantasia isn't just a cartoon, it's a DNA activator. And Disney knew that, and that's why he used Tchaikovsky music.
can you expand on what do you mean by a DNA activator?
Well, our scientists are very limited in their views of how they think DNA operates and where they think it comes from and what it does. So there are parts of our DNA that our science doesn't understand yet because it's vibrating at a frequency that we can't quite see, hear, feel, see yet. So we don't think it exists, but it's there. And this is a part of our makeup. It's a high frequency section of our makeup. And as we meditate, as we focus, as we start to pay attention, do internal journeying, trying to figure out who we are and why we're here, all of that meditation, creativity, art, all of it, music, raises our vibration. And when we consciously raise our vibration, then we consciously align with this higher vibratory DNA. And what that higher vibratory DNA contains amongst many things, some of what it contains, is our ability to plug into the higher dimensions. So our psychic abilities become stronger. We can hear, feel, and see through the dimensions much easier. And this is a huge benefit to the human being, because being a human is really, really hard. And we can have access to free information that can help us deal with being a human being on this planet.
Interesting. So I'm going to pick at your biology background, just so we're hitting the notes, because we have a lot of people who are very philosophical, and we have a few that are really, more hard science. We have kind of a whole mix in our Northland. From a scientific perspective, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I
Putting you on the
cannot
spot,
elaborate
sorry.
more scientifically on high frequency DNA because our science doesn't know it. So if you're looking for a logical explanation of that, there really isn't one yet.
What do you see going forward in the future to be able to understand that better? What would we need, maybe, is a better way of saying that?
Well, lately I've been having this thought that catastrophic disclosure might be it. Maybe that's what we need. I've never really thought that before, but now it's getting to the point where we're feeling panicked. There's panic going on. There's fear. We're really scared. And would catastrophic disclosure help? It could. It's something that the government fears. The government doesn't want catastrophic conclosure. But if you think the government's ever going to divulge this, they're not. There is no way the government is going to tell you the truth. The only way they're going to tell you the truth is if they're forced. And the only way they're going to be forced is if alien lands right then and there and has a catastrophic disclosure. Right now, that's the only thing I can see. What's your opinion on that?
Ooh, I think you bring up a lot of good points. So I know, looking at some of the things that I've heard from reputable people, that have, a background, a work history, like with skunk works and all of these different things, people that would know, their explanations as to why disclosure hasn't happened. Hal Puthoff talked about how it would be just a nightmare because of all these contracts that the government would be violating, right? And it would just be an absolute nightmare with lawsuits and all of the things that would happen. I don't have a good answer. I think if aliens, an alien ship lands on the White House, and it hasn't been shot out of the sky on its way down, with whatever our government thought was needed to get rid of it, including a nuclear weapon. I could see that if it was coming right for the White House, right? If it just lands on the White House and they come out and they say, hello, that's going to be really, really tough to pretend that it wasn't real, right? There would be too many people. However, there's so much confusion, and they've done a wonderful job at putting out all of these different things to make us not believe any of it. We don't know what to believe. The person in Rapids that was kind of mentioning that, it's like, I don't really know what to believe. I think it would take something massive like that to really be able to believe that. Now there's plenty of us that know we don't have to believe. We know, but for the rest of the folks, they would have to be able to process that and understand it as something real versus something that the government created, or stuff on sci-fi shows. Here at Northland MUFON, we generally take the subject pretty seriously. We have a little moment in our meetings where we get a little bit lighthearted with our joke of the month and stuff, because it is such a heavy topic sometimes. But for the most part, we focus on trying to give people the most credible information that we can in a world where we can't trust the information that we get. Not an easy
Yes.
job, and I know that you
No.
do the same. It's not an easy job.
Hmm. There are also people who are not interested in this topic at all because they want to say how it will affect their life, which is stunning. Stunning to think that, oh, that has nothing to do with my paycheck or this or that, or I'm living my life. I'm like, it has everything to do with everything.
Well, yeah, and everybody I think approaches the subject from a different cultural point, cultural, religious, all of these things. JD Vance was just recently, in the last couple of days, can't remember who was interviewing him, but he was talking about aliens and the idea of UFOs, and how he really wanted to know. And that was one of the first things that he wanted to find out when he became vice president. I will say, just a side note, we steer clear of politics in our group, just because, for good reasons. I probably don't have to explain that, but because of disclosure, because of all of this stuff from the government, sometimes we have to talk about them. So his opinion actually was that they were demons. And I found that very interesting. And what I've seen, through all of the experiencers that I've talked with, and the different conferences, and all of the lovely people that I've met as I've come along this journey, is that there's a lot of people who, if they're very religious, will see them as demons. Sometimes angels, but other times demons. And usually demons are demonic entities, or something evil related to Christianity. I don't necessarily see the same thing with some other religions, with the exception of Islam, where they do talk about, maybe it's the jinns, right? And other things. But I think, if you're really religious, that you're going to view it through that filter. And most of the people that see themselves as experiencers tend to be more spiritual, I think, rather than deeply religious. But what do you think? What is your experience in that?
Well, there's a particular experiencer that's well known for saying that he's been visited by angels and that the other experiencers are visited by demons. And so this particular experiencer, whose name I'm not going to say, for the past 5 or 6 years has been telling people that I talk to demons. Sev Tok talks to demons. And so when this got back to me, I'm like, man, that really sucks because experiencers should stick together. The last thing an experiencer needs is to be judged by another experiencer. Uh, this is a nice person, but I don't agree with his theories. They work for him, but they don't work for all of us. And so when it comes to coming in contact with a being, how do I know that it's a good being? Well, there's various things that I employ. For instance, I go by how I feel. I've come in contact with negative beings and I've come in contact with loving beings, and there's a difference, and you can feel it right away. For instance, I came in contact with an astral men in black, which was the scariest being I've ever come in contact with in my life. It showed up in my bedroom one night, and there's a whole story that goes along with that too. The other thing is when I'm in contact with another being, and you can meet these beings in your dreams, you can meet them in meditative states, is I just simply ask it, do you have my best interests at heart? And you can tell if it's telling the truth and you can tell if it's lying. So those are the first two things I do. If I don't feel comfortable, if I don't feel safe, then the communication ends right then and there because I have control. They do not have control. I will determine whether I will talk to you or not. That's something I'd like everyone to know because not everyone knows that. They think once an evil entity or a, let's not say evil, but lower vibratory entity enters the room, that they're cooked. Like now this, they have to communicate with it, they have to follow it, they have to listen to it, and that is not the case at all. These lower vibratory beings feed off of fear. And so if you don't exude fear, they don't have the food that they need and they'll go away and they'll find someone else that exudes fear. And so when that astral man in black appeared in my bedroom, I saw it at the foot of my bed, and it had to do with a person that was visiting me, and she was having a very interesting experience at the same time. Energy came out of that being. It had the hat, the suit, the everything, all black in my room at night, blacker than the darkness of my room. As soon as I saw it at the foot of my bed, I felt energy come out of it and into me, right into my chest. And it felt like it was grabbing me like octopus tentacles. It was trying to pull me, like pull my essence out of me. And it was the scariest thing I've ever experienced. And so I just fought. And I say I feel like I fought for my life. I just fought. I'm like, nope, nope, gotta go, gotta go. Nope, this isn't gonna happen. Nope, you gotta go. And I fought, and it finally went away. And I don't know what would have happened if I succumbed. I mean, what is that? Is that the beginning of an attachment? Is that the beginning of some kind of possession? I don't know. But we do have the power.
Could you help define those two terms that you use for some of the people that might be really new to this subject? So you mentioned astral and then men in black. Can you let them know what those two terms mean?
Yeah, so the men in black can appear physically, and they can also appear. Oh, I'm reading someone's note. Okay. And they can also appear through the dimensions, dimensionally, interdimensionally. And so the one that appeared to me was interdimensional. So I wonder, well, I'm going to tell you what happened to my friend who was staying at the same time, and then I'm going to tell you what I wonder about. She came to spend the night at my house. This is the first time she came. We go to sleep. The guest room is right across the street, across the hall from my bedroom. I wake up in the middle of the night because she's getting into my bed. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I'm scared." I said, "Okay." And at that moment, that's when I felt that men in black in my room. And I turned around and that whole incident happened. And then as soon as it left, I just went back to sleep. I woke up in the morning. We go downstairs to have coffee. And I said, "Did anything strange happen to you last night?" And she said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Okay, you go first." She said, "Well, I woke up in the middle of the night and I looked out your window, and there, hovering over the water, was a hologram of Jesus Christ. And I heard very clearly, we can do this, you know. We can put a hologram of anything in the sky and fool you." And that was happening at the same time I was seeing this astral men in black. I believe they are connected. I also believe the men in black was connected to her because she fell down this rabbit hole of QAnon and all that kind of stuff. And she was enveloped in fear. And so when you're enveloped in fear, you get these attachments of these lower vibratory beings. And so I ask, you think the government or some other agency, let's just say some agency, has the ability to enter our consciousness in the middle of the night in our bedroom? Do you think they have the ability to send over some kind of astral men in black into our bedrooms? You think they can infiltrate our minds? I'm leaning towards yes. What do you think?
Ooh, that's a rabbit hole. I I don't think I know that what we see that we think the government has is stuff that we've had for a very long time. So considering that we would have to look at least 15 to 20 years in the future, what we can imagine life like then is probably what our government already has now, at a minimum. And given the enormous increase in AI's capabilities just in the last 2 months, I would suspect that there's all kinds of interesting things that our government is able to do. Knowing some of the studies that our government was very involved in, as well as some of the activities like Project Stargate, who we'll learn more about, I guess, in May. I suspect the answer is probably yes. I want to believe it's no, but I really want to believe it's no, because if it's yes, then that has all kinds of other implications I don't really like. Um, but I think the answer is probably yes.
Yeah. It's getting to the point. It's another interesting thing is happening right now too. I've noticed that I've recently heard people who've died and come back, near-death experiences. A few of them have said we have no free will. Like what? No free will. And now we're being heard AI is going to take over, and robots are going to take over. We're going to be totally controlled by AI, and there's no free will. I'm like, what? Like, this is really weird information for us to be trying to process right now. And it's very scary. Now, is it true? Or is it all being created to put us in a very passive victim position so that our government can manipulate us and take care of their own personal needs?
Yeah, interesting question. My understanding is that we've never actually had free will, but that's coming from a philosophical area, which might be a little different than what they were mentioning. But the idea of free will is for the most part false. Um, we don't
Interesting.
actually have free will, but that's a philosophical conversation probably for a different time.
Oh,
Um,
that's a good one, though.
it's a long one. That's why I'm deferring that. It's a very long
Okay.
conversation. Um, if anybody online has a question, feel free to put it in the chat or raise your hand.
We got a
Uh,
question here in Grand
okay,
Rapids.
Thank you.
perfect.
Hi, Sev. I hope the camera's over my head.
It is.
I can see.
I got two questions.
Thank you.
The first one would be, did your cats react to anything that you experienced in your house? And the second question is, based on your book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens. How would someone go about facilitating talking to the benevolent ones as opposed to
Oh,
the
okay.
malevolent
Thank you for
ones?
those questions. And thank you
Yep.
for mentioning my cats. So at one point recently, I had 3 black cats. Then I had 2 black cats. Now I have 1 black cat. And all 3 of them came to me in very supernatural ways. I saw them as ghosts and things and in my dreams before they actually appeared in 3D in my real life. Yes, they have been involved in some of my ET contact. They were there when it happened. Uh, one day, One day I'm looking at 2 of my cats, and I noticed that both of them, and it wasn't there the day before, but both of them, and they're all black, but both of them have like this white dot in the exact same place on their bodies. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then one day, at the same time, one of them is missing this tooth, and the other one is missing this tooth at the same time. Now, I've had cats my whole entire life, and they don't lose teeth that easily, especially to have 2 cats at the same time to lose 2 teeth. Now, I'm not saying the ETs took it, but I'm just saying there is some strange behavior that has gone on with my cats as well. And of course, just like other cats, they can see through the dimensions, and they look and stare and they look around. I know there's things floating around. Like we've all had these experiences with our animals. Our animals are really amazing when it comes to plugging into this cosmic AI, really. And with respect to you have the right to talk to aliens and how to talk to them and making sure that you talk to the benevolent ones. It's all about your personal frequency. And we've all heard this before. How do you keep a high personal frequency? Because that's going to determine who and what you align with, not only on Earth, but as you go playing around on what I call the playground of cosmic consciousness. When you enter that playground of cosmic consciousness, you're going to meet all beings that have a consciousness, whether high vibe or low vibe. So if you walk around with a high vibe, you're going to align with the higher vibratory beings, which are normally the beings that we call nice. The lower vibratory beings are the ones that we call mean or nasty or evil. I don't know if those words really apply, but those are the words that we've chosen. The best way to make contact is through meditation. Dreams also, but conscious contact is best done through meditation. I hope that answered your questions. Thank you. Now, can I read what this person wrote in the chat?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hi, I'm both scientific and spiritual. And this is by Tutsi. Tutsi, thank you. I'm both scientific and spiritual, but all of this is plausible. It gives many explanations for the things that happen. Pure religion only gave me questions with no answers. Only that it's a mystery, or that we cannot see God, but must just believe. And also accept that when bad things happen, God is not involved. That's interesting. But when good things happen, it's all God. That never made sense to me, but the metaphysical avenues provide all the answers. I'm very open-minded. That was really well written, Tussie. It is interesting. I really didn't realize in religion when something bad happens, God isn't involved because a lot of bad stuff has happened at God's direction in some of these religions.
Yes, I've been told that my whole life,
Oh, hi, Tussie.
Hi is my real name.
Oh, okay.
Tuesday is a nickname,
Okay. Nice
but
to meet you.
uh, I just I grew up, Catholic, but I not that I'm putting it down, it just never made
Mhm,
sense to me. And
mhm.
I, tried to just fall in with organized religion, and it was nice for the social aspects, but I just came away with a lot more questions and never any answers.
Mhm.
Um, and I got into metaphysics and found that all of the answers were there. And of course now we're digging in really deep now. We're going really deep with all the consciousness and the AI stuff. And it's super interesting, a little scary, but I'm too afraid not to gain as much information as I can because I like to be prepared. So that's why I'm a MUFON
Prepared.
member.
Prepared for what?
Prepared for the day when, the ETs do make their presence and
Ah.
for being able to understand as much as possible. I follow Corey Good. You probably know who Corey Good is.
Mhm.
And he's been involved with aliens and since he was a child and he was chosen by the government for the 20 and back program. But anyway, I listened to all of his updates, and one of the things he said was that um the aliens, now I don't know which group, have stated that they feel that it's time to come forward, that we really need it. We need the help, the technology, because we are making such a mess of the planet. So it's time for them to step in and, and really bring everybody up to speed, if you will, bring the planet up to speed and fix a lot of things. But that since our government is not allowing that to happen, they're giving our government a few more years and then they're going to come forward. So if that is the case, then we've got a few years to get ready to meet them and interface with them, which could be scary, but also could be wonderfully exciting because we'll then have the access to probably, free electricity, more cancer, just as an example.
So much.
So,
Yeah. And we have the
it,
right to
it,
know. I mean, we have the
yes,
right to know. The fact that a government is keeping this from us is so disgusting. I mean, if there could be a class action suit from the entire population of the United States against the government, it's like, how could you betray us and not tell us the truth? It's what they deserve because it's just insane to think that they're hiding this. And I think we are nearing the end of the hiding, the smoke and mirrors.
yes.
Hmm.
Well, if they do step forward and make a clear presence, um, I suppose I'd like to think that the government will then be taking a back seat They won't like that, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I think government will practically disappear. Because it would be so small and insignificant and insubordinate. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. Yeah,
You're
the government
welcome.
at this point, it feels really like 3D. And so when the ETs come, we're going to be much more focused on the other dimensions of life. And so a lot of the things that we find important in the 3D will just dissolve.
Right.
Yeah.
Fall away. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think that'll be kind of neat. I hope I'm still alive. I should be. I'm 70 now. I should still be alive.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I just saw Bashar says that we're going to have open contact next year.
Oh, next year. Okay, well, so that's a little stepped up timeline, but I like to get information from pretty much anyone who has been in contact with the ETs. I want to hear what they have to say. And I just file it all in the brain and, mix it together like a gumbo, and hopefully something interesting will come out the other side and we'll know what's going on.
Hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Sev, you're welcome to stay for the whole meeting if you'd like. So,
Yeah, I'd be very interested in staying for the rest of the night.
Strawberry. All right. Not bad. Not bad at all. You're still here. Well, since you're still here, please hit subscribe. Please hit like. Watch the next video wherever it pops up on here, because that's really going to help us out a lot. For a new chapter, new channel, we need all the help we can get. Thank you. The insect man.
The insect man!
I think that might have been the best MUFON meeting I've been to.